Hana Kim pressed her face against the transparent wall and stared at the creatures inside. The biodome stretched for miles in every direction, filled with plants and rocks and things that wanted to kill you. She had studied these predators for months in her textbooks, but seeing them in person made her stomach twist. "Stop gawking and get back to work." Do-Yun Lee didn't even look up from his datapad. He was her supervisor, a stern man who treated her like a child even though she had graduated top of her class. "We have samples to catalog." Hana stepped back from the viewing window. Around her, hundreds of aliens filled the observation deck. They came in all shapes and sizes. Some had scales, some had fur, and some looked like they were made of living crystal. They were all here for the same reason. The Apex trial was about to begin. The Apex trial happened once every galactic year. Representatives from different species entered the biodome and tried to survive against the most dangerous predators in the known galaxy. It was part test, part entertainment, and part political statement. Species that did well earned respect. Species that failed were forgotten. Humanity had only joined the Galactic Consortium 6 months ago. They were the new kids, the unknowns from a planet the aliens called a Class 12 Deathworld. Most species came from nice, safe planets with gentle weather and friendly animals. Earth was different. Earth had hurricanes and earthquakes and animals that could kill you in 100 different ways. But the aliens didn't see that as strength. They saw it as a miracle that humans had survived at all. "Pathetic soft bodies," a voice said behind her. Hana turned to see a shardling standing there. The creature looked like it was made of sharp, glowing crystals that shifted colors as it moved. This one was called Velry, an ambassador from a species that lived on a world with 3 suns. "Your kind should not even be here. You have no claws, no armor, no venom. What defense does a human have?" Hana felt her face grow hot. She wanted to say something smart, something that would put Velry in its place. But Do-Hyun grabbed her arm and pulled her away. "Ignore it," he said quietly. "We're here to observe and learn. That's all." But Hana couldn't ignore it. She had worked too hard to get here. She had studied xenobiology since she was 12 years old. She knew more about alien life forms than most of the scientists, twice her age. And now she had to stand here and be insulted because she was human. On the main viewing screen, the trial began. A tall reptilian creature called a Thornak entered the biodome. It had thick scales, powerful legs, and eyes that could see in multiple spectrums of light. The crowd cheered as it moved through the entrance. Within minutes, it faced its first predator, a Vrex mantis. The mantis was terrifying. 4 meters tall with bladed arms that could cut through metal. It hunted by sensing movement and electromagnetic fields. The Thornak saw it and ran, using its speed to escape. The crowd approved. Running was smart. Fighting was stupid. 3 more contestants entered over the next hour. A floating gas being that could change its density. A 6-legged creature covered in armor plates. A small, quick alien that could teleport short distances. Each one faced different predators. Some survived, some didn't. The ones that died were removed by drones while the crowd barely noticed. "I want to enter," Hana said suddenly. Do-Hyun nearly dropped his datapad. "Absolutely not." "Why not? I've trained for this. I know these predators." "Knowing about them and surviving them are very different things." Do-Hyun's voice was firm. "You're 19 years old. You're a scientist, not a warrior. The answer is no." But Hana had already made up her mind. She walked to the registration desk where a bored-looking alien sat processing entry forms. "I want to register for the trial," she said. The alien looked at her with 4 eyes. "Species?" "Human." All 4 eyes blinked at once. "Human? From Earth?" It checked its computer. No human has ever entered the Apex trial. Then I'll be the first. Word spread quickly through the observation deck. A human was entering the trial. The fragile, soft body from the Deathworld thought she could survive. Aliens gathered around the viewing screens, placing bets on how quickly she would die. Most gave her less than 10 minutes. Do-hyun found her before she entered the preparation room. "Hana, please. Think about what you're doing. If you die in there, it doesn't just affect you. It affects all of humanity. The consortium will see us as reckless and stupid." "And if I survive?" Hana asked. "If I win, you won't." But something in Do-hyun's eyes had changed. It wasn't anger anymore. It was fear. Fear for her. Jiho Park, the head of Earth's delegation, appeared beside them. He was an older man with gray hair and a calm face. "Let her go," he said to Do-hyun. "Sir, this is—" "I know what it is." Jiho looked at Hana. "Do you understand the stakes?" "Yes, sir." "The mortality rate is 40%. The injury rate is much higher. You have no enhancements, no weapons, no advantages that the other species don't have better versions of." "I have one advantage," Hana said. "I'm from Earth." Jiho studied her for a long moment. Then he nodded. "Show them what that means." Hana entered the preparation room. They gave her basic survival gear: a water container, a thermal blanket, a small medical kit. No weapons were allowed. The trial was about survival, not combat. She changed into a simple gray suit that would protect her from minor scratches and regulate her temperature. Through the walls, she could hear the crowd. They were laughing, making jokes about the human who thought she could survive. Velry's voice was loudest of all, explaining to anyone who would listen how quickly Hana would fail. The door to the biodome opened. Hana stepped through into a world of green plants and strange sounds. The door sealed behind her. There was no going back now. She walked forward, her steps careful and quiet. The biodome was designed to look natural, but she knew it was filled with sensors and cameras. Millions of aliens were watching her right now, waiting for her to make a mistake. A sound made her freeze. Something was moving through the plants ahead. Something big. The crowd in the observation deck went silent. On their screens, they could see what Hana couldn't yet see. The Vrex mantis had found her. It stepped into view, and Hana's breath caught in her throat. It was bigger than she had imagined. Its bladed arms gleamed in the artificial sunlight. Its head turned toward her, sensors reading her electromagnetic signature and the movement of her chest as she breathed. The crowd waited for her to run. That's what everyone did. Run and hope you were faster than the predator. But Hana Kim had a different plan. She had grown up on a death world where humans survived not by being the strongest or the fastest, but by being the smartest. She stood perfectly still and began to count in her head. 1, 2, 3. The mantis moved closer. 4, 5, 6. This was going to be a very long 20 minutes. The Vrex mantis tilted its head, studying the strange creature in front of it. Hana could see her reflection in its multiple eyes. She looked small and weak. She looked like prey, but she didn't move. Every muscle in her body screamed at her to run. Millions of years of evolution told her to escape from the thing that wanted to eat her. But Hana had studied this predator. She knew how it hunted. It tracked movement and electromagnetic pulses from living hearts and nervous systems. So she made herself as still as stone. Her grandmother had taught her meditation when she was young, old breathing techniques passed down through generations. Hana used them now. She slowed her breathing. 1 breath every 10 seconds, then every 15. Her heart rate dropped. The electrical signals from her body became quieter and quieter. The mantis moved closer. Its bladed arm came within inches of her face. Hana could smell it, a sharp chemical scent like burning metal. She kept her eyes forward, not tracking its movement. Even her gaze could give her away. In the observation deck, the crowd had gone completely silent. They had never seen anything like this before. Every contestant who faced a mantis either ran or died. This human girl was doing neither. Yuna Choi pressed her hands against the viewing glass. She was Hana's colleague, a data analyst who had helped her prepare for this moment. "Come on, Hana," she whispered. "Just a little longer." Beside her, a massive creature watched with interest. Krell was a Thornak, one of the greatest hunters in the galaxy. He had won the Apex trial 3 times. He had never seen prey simply stand still before. It was interesting. "What is she doing?" Velry asked, its crystalline body flickering with confusion. "Why doesn't she run?" "She's thinking," Krell said quietly. "Something most prey forget to do." The mantis circled Hana. 5 minutes had passed, then 10. Its sensors were designed to detect fleeing prey, not statues. Hana's electromagnetic signature had dropped so low that she barely registered as alive. The mantis touched her shoulder with one bladed arm, testing. Hana didn't flinch. She had turned off her fear response, pushed it down into a deep place where it couldn't control her. 15 minutes. The mantis made a clicking sound, frustrated. This wasn't how hunting worked. Prey ran. Prey panicked. Prey made mistakes. This creature did none of those things. 18 minutes. Hana's legs were shaking from the effort of standing still. Sweat dripped down her back. But she had learned something important growing up on Earth. Humans were persistence hunters. Her ancestors had chased prey for hours, for days, until the animals collapsed from exhaustion. Patience was built into her DNA. 20 minutes. The mantis turned away. Its sensors had found something else moving in another part of the biodome, a small animal that had wandered too close. The predator moved toward easier prey, its interest in the still human completely gone. Hana waited until it was out of sight. Then she let out a long, shaky breath and collapsed to her knees. Her whole body trembled. She had done it. She had survived the first test. But there was no time to rest. The biodome had many more predators, and now they knew she was here. She stood up and moved deeper into the artificial jungle. The crowd in the observation deck was exploding with noise. Aliens were arguing about what they had just seen. Some called it luck, others called it impossible. A few, like Krell, recognized it for what it was. Strategy. Jiho Park smiled for the first time that day. "She's not trying to fight them," he said to Do-hyun. "She's making them forget she exists." Do-hyun stared at the screen where Hana was carefully moving through dense plants. "How long can she keep this up?" "Let's find out." Hana's next challenge came faster than she expected. The thermal sensors in her suit alerted her to a heat signature approaching. She ducked behind a large rock and pulled up the information on her small wrist display. Shadowstalker, a predator that hunted by reading thermal signatures. It could see body heat through solid objects. She couldn't stand still for this one. The creature would see her warmth no matter what she did. She needed a different approach. Hana looked around quickly. She was near a small stream that ran through this section of the biodome. Steam rose from vents in the rocks. The biodome's designers had included geothermal features to make the environment more realistic. An idea formed. She ran to the stream and covered herself in cold mud. The wet earth stuck to her skin and clothes, masking her heat signature. Then she moved to the geothermal vents and positioned herself between them. The hot steam created thermal confusion, multiple heat sources all clustered together. The Shadowstalker emerged from the plants. It was a sleek, dark creature that seemed to absorb light. Its eyes glowed red as it scanned the area. Hana pressed herself flat against the rocks, the cold mud keeping her cool while the hot vents blazed on either side of her. The predator's head swiveled back and forth, Too many heat sources, too much thermal noise. It couldn't isolate the prey it had sensed moments before. After several minutes, it moved on to hunt in clearer areas. Hana slowly stood up, covered in mud and shaking from cold. 2 predators down. How many more to go? In the observation deck, Yuna was frantically taking notes. "She's using the environment," she said excitedly. "She's not trying to be stronger or faster. She's making the environment work for her." Krell nodded slowly. "Deathworlder tactics," he said. "On a hostile planet, you learn to use everything around you as a tool." The day wore on. Hana faced the Razorwing swarm next, small flying predators that attacked in coordinated groups. She observed their flight patterns and realized they never crossed each other's paths. They left blind spots in their formation. She positioned herself in one of those spots and let the swarm fly past her, searching for prey that wasn't there. Then came the siege worm, a massive creature that lived underground and sensed vibrations through the earth. Hana walked only on stone surfaces, avoiding soil entirely. The worm passed beneath her several times but never surfaced. Each time, she used patience. Each time, she used observation. Each time, she survived not by fighting, but by understanding. The aliens watching began to change their opinions. This wasn't luck. This was skill. A different kind of skill than they were used to, but skill nonetheless. 14 hours had passed since Hana entered the biodome. She hadn't eaten or slept. Her body ached from standing still, from moving carefully, from constant alertness. Any other species would have collapsed by now, but humans were built for endurance. Her ancestors had run down prey across the African savanna for days without stopping. Compared to that, 14 hours was nothing. She reached the final sector of the biodome, the most dangerous area, the place where the ultimate challenge waited. A voice boomed across the biodome's speaker system. "Human? Hana Kim?" It was a deep, rumbling voice, Krell's voice. "You have impressed me. You have survived every predator in this preserve. But the trial is not over. I am entering the biodome. You have 10 minutes to prepare, and then I will hunt you." In the observation deck, Taeyang Jin, Earth's ambassador, stood up. "He can't do that. It's against the rules." An alien official turned to him. "The final challenge is always against a sapient hunter." "It's tradition. Your representative knew this when she entered." Hana stood in the clearing and listened to Krell's challenge. She was exhausted. Her supplies were running low, and now she had to face the greatest hunter in the galaxy. She sat down on a rock and began to gather materials from around her. Sticks, stones, vines. Her hands moved quickly, building something, planning something. The crowd watched in confusion. What was she doing? Hana smiled to herself. They were all thinking like predators. Krell was thinking like a predator, but she was thinking like a human, and humans had been outwitting predators for millions of years. Krell entered the biodome with the confidence of someone who had never lost. He was 3 meters tall, covered in thick scales that had evolved to resist everything from energy weapons to acid. His claws could tear through steel. His eyes could see in infrared, ultraviolet, and normal light all at once. He had hunted on 40 different worlds and always won. But as he moved through the jungle toward Hana's location, something felt wrong. The human should be running. Every prey animal ran when faced with a superior predator. But his sensors showed her sitting in a clearing, barely moving, doing something. 10 minutes are up, human, Krell announced through his helmet speaker. The hunt begins. Hana heard his voice echo through the biodome. Her 10 minutes had been busy. She had created simple tools from materials around her. A sharp rock tied to a stick, some vine rope, a few other pieces she had carefully arranged in the clearing. To anyone watching, it looked like she was making primitive weapons. Useless things against a creature like Krell. But Hana wasn't planning to fight Krell. Fighting was stupid. Fighting was how prey died. She stood up and dusted off her mud-covered suit. Then she walked to a specific spot in the clearing and sat down again. She closed her eyes and began her breathing exercises. Slow, steady, calm. In the observation deck, Do-hyun couldn't watch. "She's given up," he said. "She's just sitting there waiting to die." But Yuna was studying the tactical map of the biodome. She saw where Hana had positioned herself. She saw what was nearby. "No," she said slowly. "She's not giving up. She's... Oh, that's clever." Krell found her within minutes. His tracking skills were legendary. He emerged from the jungle and stopped at the edge of the clearing, studying the small human sitting peacefully on the ground. "Why do you not run, soft body?" he called out. "Do you not fear death?" Hana opened her eyes and looked at him. "I fear death very much," she said. "That's why I'm not running." "Explain." Krell was genuinely curious now. This was not normal prey behavior. "You're faster than me, stronger than me, better armed than me. If I run, you win. If I fight, you win. So I have to change the game." Hana stood up slowly, keeping her movements calm and non-threatening. "You're thinking like a predator. I'm thinking like a human." "And what does a human think?" "That the environment is the strongest weapon." Hana gestured around them. "You're focused on me, but you should be focused on where we are." Krell's eyes narrowed. He scanned the area more carefully. They were in a section of the biodome where several territories overlapped. The siege worm's hunting ground was below them. The razor-wing swarm's nesting area was nearby. And those vents in the rocks. "You contaminated the area," Krell said, understanding dawning. "The tools you were making, you were spreading scent markers." Hana nodded. "I found some razor-wing nesting materials earlier. I've been spreading them around this clearing. Their species is very territorial about their nesting grounds. And those vibrations you're making with your heavy footsteps? The siege worm below us is getting very interested." Krell laughed, a deep rumbling sound. "You would turn the biodome against me. Clever. But I have fought multiple predators before. I can handle—" A screech cut him off. 3 razor wings appeared above the clearing, their wings spread wide. They had detected the nesting materials and come to defend their territory. They didn't care that Krell was sapient. They only cared that something was threatening their nest. At the same moment, the ground began to shake. The siege worm was rising, disturbed by the vibrations and the electromagnetic signatures of multiple beings in one place. Krell's expression changed. This was no longer a simple hunt. This was a survival situation. "You should run now," Hana said quietly. She pointed to a path through the jungle. "That way is clear. The worm won't follow if you leave its territory." "And where will you go?" Krell asked, already moving toward the path as the razor wings dove at him. "I'll wait," Hana said. "I'm very good at waiting." Krell ran. It wasn't retreat, it was tactical repositioning. He had to survive the biodome's predators before he could continue hunting the human. The razor wings followed him, screeching their anger. The moment Krell was gone, Hana moved. But she didn't run in the opposite direction like he would expect. Instead, she moved to the edge of the clearing and found a small hollow in the rocks. She crawled inside and went completely still. The siege worm broke through the ground where she had been sitting just seconds before. Its massive body thrashed around, searching for the vibrations it had sensed. But Hana was pressed against solid rock, not moving, barely breathing. After several minutes, the worm dove back underground, finding nothing. Hana counted to 100, then crawled out of her hiding place. She was still in danger. Krell would come back once he dealt with the razor wings. He was too good a hunter to give up. She needed more time, more preparation. Hana moved through the biodome carefully, always watching for predators. She collected more materials, certain plants that had strong smells, rocks that could be stacked to create false paths, mud that could hide her footprints. 15 hours had passed since she entered the trial. Her body was running on pure adrenaline now. Humans could push themselves beyond normal limits when necessary. Her ancestors had proven that over and over again. They ran marathons when being chased. They stayed awake for days when hunting. They survived injuries that would kill other species. Yuna watched from the observation deck, sending silent encouragement through the glass. She had been analyzing every move Hana made, every tactic she used. This wasn't just a trial anymore. This was a lesson to the entire galaxy about what humans could do. "She's been in there for 15 hours, an alien observer said. "How is she still moving?" "Deathworlder endurance," Yuna answered. "Humans can run for days without stopping. 15 hours is nothing." Krell returned to the clearing, covered in scratches from the razor wings. He had survived their attack, but it had cost him time and energy. He searched the area carefully, looking for Hana's trail. But she had covered her tracks well, too well. Every path seemed to lead in a different direction. Every sign could be false. For the first time in his hunting career, Krell felt uncertain. He activated his comms. "Human, Hana Kim, I acknowledge your skill. You have survived longer than any prey I have hunted. But this ends now. Show yourself." Hana's voice came from the biodome's comm system. She had found a maintenance panel and hacked into it. "I'm still waiting," she said. "Patience is a human strength. How long can you hunt before you get tired, Krell?" It was a challenge, a psychological one. Krell was physically superior, but Hana was testing his mental endurance. Could he outlast a human in a battle of patience? The observation deck erupted in discussion. This was unprecedented. The prey was taunting the hunter. The weak was challenging the strong. And somehow, it was working. Taeyang Jin stood before the consortium council members who had gathered to watch. "You see now what makes humans different," he said. "We don't win through strength. We win through thinking, through patience, through using everything around us as a tool. That's what it means to evolve on a death world." Krell began his search again, more carefully this time. He checked every hiding place, every hollow, every dense patch of plants. Hours passed. The sun in the biodome cycled from day to night and back to day again. 18 hours total. Hana moved like a ghost through the biodome, always staying one step ahead. She used every trick she knew. When Krell searched the eastern sector, she was in the west. When he checked the caves, she was in the trees. When he scanned the thermal signatures, she was covered in cold mud again. She wasn't faster than him, but she was smarter about where she moved. And she was patient. So very patient. While Krell grew frustrated, burning energy searching for her, Hana conserved her strength. She took short rests when she could. She drank from streams. She ate some of the plants she recognized as safe from her studies. Krell's respect for the human grew with each passing hour. This was not prey behavior. This was something else entirely. This was a different kind of hunting through intelligence rather than strength. As the 18th hour approached, Krell made a decision. He walked to the center of the biodome and sat down in a clearing. "Human," he called out. "I offer you a truce. Not surrender, a truce. Come speak with me. I give my word as a Thornak warrior that I will not attack you." Hana heard him from her hiding place nearby. She considered his offer carefully. It could be a trap. But Thornaks were known for their honor. They didn't break their word. She emerged from the jungle slowly, ready to run if needed. Krell saw her and nodded with respect. The small, mud-covered human looked exhausted, but her eyes were still sharp and alert. "You have taught me something today," Krell said, Hana stood at the edge of the clearing, keeping a safe distance from Krell. Every instinct told her to stay alert. Truces could be broken. Promises could be lies. But something in the way the massive Thornax sat, relaxed, almost tired, made her believe he was being honest. "What did I teach you?" she asked, her voice hoarse from hours without speaking. Krell gestured for her to sit. Hana hesitated, then lowered herself to the ground. She kept her legs under her, ready to spring up if needed. Even exhausted, her mind was still working, still planning escape routes. "I have won the Apex trial 3 times, Krell began. "I have hunted on 40 worlds. I have faced predators that could melt metal with their breath, creatures that could teleport, beings that existed in multiple dimensions at once. I always won because I was stronger, faster, better armed." He looked at his clawed hands. "But today, a small human with no natural weapons has evaded me for 18 hours. Do you know why?" Hana didn't answer. She had her own theories, but she wanted to hear his perspective. "Because I was thinking like a predator," Krell continued. "I was hunting, chasing, trying to catch you through superior physical ability. But you were never playing that game. You were playing a different game entirely." "I was surviving," Hana said simply. "No." Krell shook his head. "You were thinking. Every species in the galaxy knows how to survive. But humans know how to think several steps ahead. You turned the biodome into your ally. You made me fight the environment instead of fighting you. You used patience as a weapon. These are not predator tactics. These are human tactics." In the observation deck, the crowd had grown to thousands. Word had spread across the consortium about the human girl who was outsmarting the legendary hunter. Even species who normally ignored the Apex trial were watching now. Velry, the shardling who had insulted Hana earlier, stood silently. Its crystalline body had stopped shifting colors, a sign of deep thought in its species. "I was wrong," it said quietly to no one in particular. Yuna was recording everything, her hands shaking with excitement. "This is going to change how the entire galaxy sees humanity," she whispered to Do-hyun. Do-hyun nodded slowly. He had doubted Hana. He had tried to stop her from entering the trial, but she had proven something important. Humans belonged in the galaxy not because they were strong, but because they were smart. Back in the biodome, Hana studied Krell carefully. "So what happens now?" she asked. "Do we keep going until one of us can't continue?" Krell was quiet for a long moment. Then he stood up and walked to the center of the clearing. He raised his arm and spoke clearly so the biodome's sensors would pick up his words. "I, Krell of the Thornac hunting clans, 3-time champion of the Apex trial, declare this hunt concluded. The human, Hana Kim, has demonstrated superior survival strategy. She is the victor." The observation deck exploded into chaos. Aliens shouted in multiple languages. Some argued that Krell couldn't just declare a victor. Others insisted that surviving this long against Krell was victory enough. A few species began calculating what this meant for humanity's status in the consortium. Taiyang Jin smiled and turned to the consortium officials. "I believe this means humanity has earned our seat on the Science Council." The officials looked at each other uncomfortably. They hadn't expected this outcome. They had assumed the human would fail quickly, proving that Deathworlders were just lucky survivors, not intelligent beings worthy of respect. "The trial is not officially over until she exits the biodome," one official said. "Then let's make it official," another agreed. In the biodome, Hana stood up slowly. Her legs were shaking from exhaustion. "You're serious?" she asked Krell. "You're really declaring me the winner?" "I don't say things I don't mean," Krell replied. "You have my respect, human, and you have taught me something valuable about my own hunting methods. I have relied too much on physical superiority. I forgot that intelligence can defeat strength. In my species, we have a saying, Hana said. The strongest predator isn't always the biggest. Sometimes it's the smartest. A wise saying. Krell walked toward the biodome exit. Come, let us leave this place. You need food and rest, and I need to reconsider my entire approach to hunting. They walked together through the jungle. Hana stumbled several times, her body finally giving in to the exhaustion. Krell slowed his pace to match hers. When she tripped over a root, he caught her arm to steady her. Thank you, Hana said. Thank you, Krell replied. This was the most challenging hunt of my life. I will remember it always. As they approached the exit, more predators appeared. The Vrex mantis, the shadow stalker, even the razor-wing swarm circled above. But they didn't attack. Krell's presence kept them at bay. The great hunter and the small human walked side by side, an odd pair that somehow made sense. The biodome doors opened. Light flooded in from the observation deck. Hana raised her hand to shield her eyes, temporarily blinded after so many hours in the artificial jungle. Sound hit her like a wave. Thousands of aliens were making noise, some cheering, some arguing, some simply shocked into various expressions that translated across species as amazement. Hana stepped through the doors. Medical drones immediately swarmed around her, scanning for injuries. She had scratches, bruises, and was severely dehydrated. But she was alive, whole, victorious. Do-hyun pushed through the crowd and grabbed her in a hug. You crazy, brilliant girl, he said. I thought I lost you 100 times. I'm okay, Hana said, though her voice was weak. I did it. I proved humans belong here. Yuna was next, wrapping her arms around Hana carefully. You were amazing. I recorded everything. Your tactics are going to be studied for generations. Jiho Park appeared, his calm face now showing a rare smile. Well done, Hana Kim. You have done more for humanity's reputation in 18 hours than our diplomats could do in 18 years. Krell stood nearby, watching the humans celebrate. Velry approached him cautiously. That was unexpected, the Shardling said. That was educational, Krell corrected. The galaxy has been wrong about humans. We saw them as weak because they have no claws or armor, but we forgot to look at what they have instead. Which is an exceptional mind, endless patience, the ability to think creatively under pressure, and an endurance that puts most species to shame. Krell looked at Hana, who was being led to the medical bay. The death world didn't make them strong. It made them smart. That's far more dangerous. The consortium officials gathered for an emergency meeting. They had to address what just happened. A human had survived the Apex trial using methods no one had seen before. She had defeated the greatest hunter in the galaxy without fighting him even once. The rules of the trial were followed, one official said. She entered. She survived. The hunter declared her the victor. We must honor the outcome. But what does this mean for humanity's status? Another asked. Taiyang Jin, who had been invited to the meeting, spoke calmly. It means you recognize us as equals. It means you give us the Science Council seat as promised. And it means you stop underestimating Deathworlders. Your species is dangerous, a third official said, not as an insult but as a statement of fact. Yes, Taiyang agreed, but not in the way you think. We're dangerous because we adapt, we observe, we learn, we survive. Earth taught us that the universe doesn't care about being fair, so we learned to use intelligence instead of strength. The vote was unanimous. Humanity would join the Science Council. In the medical bay, Hana lay on a bed while drones treated her minor injuries. She was falling asleep despite the noise and activity around her. 18 hours of constant stress and fear were catching up with her body. But before she drifted off, she heard Krell's voice one more time. Rest well, human. You have earned it. And when you wake up, I would like to learn more about your Deathworld tactics. Perhaps I can incorporate some of your methods into my own hunting." "I'd like that," Hana murmured. "Maybe I can learn some of your tracking skills, too." A fair trade. Hana smiled and let sleep take her. She had done it. She had proven that humans belonged in the galaxy, not as warriors or conquerors, but as survivors, as thinkers, as beings who could outwit any predator by simply understanding how the world worked and using that knowledge wisely. The Deathworlder girl had stood still for 20 minutes when everyone expected her to run, and in doing so, she had changed the galaxy's entire perspective on humanity. Hana woke up in a soft bed with white sheets. For a moment, she didn't remember where she was. Then the memories came flooding back. The biodome, the predators, Krell, standing still for 20 minutes while the Vrex mantis studied her. She sat up slowly. Her body ached in places she didn't know could ache, but she was alive. "Easy," a voice said. Yuna was sitting in a chair beside the bed, looking exhausted herself. "You've been asleep for 16 hours. 16 hours. Hana rubbed her eyes. "I missed that much?" "You earned it. Besides, you didn't miss anything important. Just humanity being officially welcomed to the Science Council, news services from 40 different species wanting to interview you, and about 1,000 aliens wanting to study your tactics." Yuna grinned. "Normal stuff." Hana's stomach growled loudly. Yuna laughed and handed her a tray of food, real Earth food, rice, vegetables, and protein that actually tasted familiar. Hana ate like she hadn't seen food in days, which wasn't far from the truth. "So we really did it?" Hana asked between bites. "Humanity is part of the Science Council now?" "Thanks to you, yes. Taiyang negotiated the whole thing while you were sleeping. We're not just members, we're respected members. Species that ignored us before are suddenly very interested in Earth and human capabilities." Yuna pulled up a holographic display. "Look at this. Applications from students across the galaxy wanting to study at Earth universities, research proposals for joint projects, even military organizations wanting to learn about human endurance training." Hana stared at the numbers. Thousands of requests. All because she had stood still and thought clearly under pressure. "There's more," Yuna continued. "The consortium wants you to help develop new training programs. They're calling it Deathworld Adaptation Protocols. Basically, teaching other species how to think like humans when facing dangerous situations." "Me? I'm just a xenobiologist student. I don't know how to teach." "You outwitted every apex predator in the galaxy and defeated the greatest hunter alive. I think you're qualified." Yuna's expression turned more serious. "Hana, you did something incredible. You showed the entire galaxy that humans aren't just lucky survivors. We're intelligent, adaptable, and capable of solving problems that others can't." A knock on the door interrupted them. Do-hyun entered, carrying more food and looking sheepish. "I owe you an apology," he said without preamble. "I tried to stop you from entering the trial. I thought you would fail and embarrass humanity. I was wrong. You proved that young humans can achieve things that old, cautious humans like me wouldn't dare attempt." "You were trying to protect me," Hana said. "I understand." "Yes, but I should have trusted your judgment. You studied those predators for months. You knew what you were doing." Do-hyun set down the food. "From now on, I'll trust your instincts. And I'd like to officially request that you lead our xenobiology research team." Hana nearly choked on her rice. "Lead! I'm 19! And you just survived the Apex trial. Age doesn't matter when you've proven yourself this thoroughly." Do-hyun smiled. "Think about it. No pressure. Well, maybe a little pressure. Everyone in the consortium is waiting to see what you do next." After Do-hyun left, Hana finished her meal in silence. She was still processing everything. 2 days ago, she was just a student who aliens looked down on. Now she was being offered leadership positions and teaching opportunities. It's overwhelming, isn't it? Yuna said softly. Terrifying, Hana admitted. What if I can't live up to their expectations? Then you do what you did in the biodome. You think carefully, you use the resources around you, and you adapt. Yuna squeezed her hand. You don't have to be perfect, Hana. You just have to be human. The door opened again. This time it was Krell, ducking his head to fit through the doorway. The massive Thornak looked oddly gentle as he approached the bed. I hope I'm not disturbing you, he said. Not at all, Hana replied, surprised by how comfortable she felt around him now. In the biodome, he had been a terrifying predator. Now he seemed more like a respected teacher. I wanted to give you this. Krell held out a small object. It was a carved stone shaped like a hunting claw. In my culture, we give these to hunters who teach us important lessons. You taught me that strength is not everything. Intelligence, patience, and creativity can defeat even the most powerful predator. Hana took the stone carefully. It was warm from Krell's hand and surprisingly light. Thank you. This means a lot. I also wanted to ask if you would consider working with me, Krell continued. I train young Thornak hunters. I would like to incorporate your methods into my teaching. Perhaps you could visit my homeworld and demonstrate your tactics? I'd like that, Hana said. And maybe you could teach me some of your tracking skills. I was impressive in the biodome, but you still found me every time. A fair exchange. Krell bowed his head slightly. I look forward to our future cooperation, Hana Kim of Earth. After Krell left, Hana looked at the carved stone in her hand. She had entered the biodome alone, viewed as weak and inferior. She was leaving with respect from the galaxy's greatest hunter. The next few days were a blur of meetings and interviews. Hana spoke with representatives from dozens of species. She explained her tactics over and over, how she had studied each predator's hunting methods and found their weaknesses, how patience and stillness had been her greatest weapons, how Earth had taught humans to use intelligence over strength. The most memorable interview was with a young Shardling student named Biul. The crystalline being approached Hana nervously. I must apologize, Biul said. My parent Velry insulted you before the trial, called you a fragile soft body. I wanted you to know that we were wrong. You have taught my entire species to look beyond physical appearance when judging capability. Tell your parent I accept the apology, Hana said kindly, and that I hope we can work together in the future. Different species have different strengths. Humans are good at some things, Shardlings are good at others. We're stronger together. A week after the trial, Taiyang Jin called a meeting of all Earth representatives. Hana attended, still getting used to being treated as an equal by people twice her age. The consortium has made an unprecedented offer, Taiyang announced. They want to establish an exchange program. Alien students will come to Earth to study our survival methods and Deathworld adaptation. In return, human students will go to other worlds to learn their technologies and sciences. This is bigger than just the Science Council, Jiho Park added. This is cultural exchange on a massive scale, and it started because one brave girl stood still when everyone expected her to run. Everyone looked at Hana. She felt her face grow warm with embarrassment. I didn't do anything special, she said quietly. I just used what Earth taught me. That's exactly the point, Taiyang replied. Earth taught you to survive using intelligence. That's what makes humans special in the galaxy. We're not the strongest or fastest or most advanced, but we're creative problem solvers who refuse to give up. That's worth more than any physical advantage. 3 months later, the first group of alien students arrived on Earth. Hana watched them step off the transport ship, their eyes wide as they looked at the sky, felt the wind, and experienced gravity slightly different from their home worlds. Welcome to Earth, she said. Welcome to a death world. She took them to forests where they learned to move quietly, to rivers where they practiced patience while fishing, to mountains where they learned endurance. Each lesson focused not on combat, but on understanding the environment and using it wisely. Krell visited several times, bringing his best students to train alongside the others. Hana and Krell developed a teaching method that combined Thornak hunting skills with human survival tactics. The result was something new, a way of thinking that worked for any species on any world. Yuna became her assistant, documenting everything and turning their lessons into training materials that spread across the galaxy. Do-hyun helped design programs that other universities could use. Even Velry contributed, using Shardling technology to create training simulations. One evening, Hana sat on a hill overlooking the training grounds. The sun was setting, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink. She thought about that day in the biodome, 20 minutes of standing perfectly still, the longest 20 minutes of her life. But those 20 minutes had changed everything. Krell found her there and sat down beside her, careful not to crush the grass with his weight. "What are you thinking about?" he asked. "How strange life is," Hana replied. "A few months ago, I was just a student that nobody respected. Now I'm teaching people from across the galaxy." "You were always worthy of respect," Krell said. "You just needed the chance to prove it. The Apex trial gave you that chance." "Do you regret declaring me the victor? Some people still say you should have kept hunting me." "Never." Krell's voice was firm. "You defeated me in the way that mattered most. You made me change how I think about hunting and survival. That's a greater victory than any physical combat could achieve." They sat in comfortable silence, watching the stars appear in the darkening sky. Somewhere up there were thousands of worlds, millions of species, all learning that humans had something valuable to offer the galaxy. "I have a question," Krell said. "That first predator, the Vrex mantis. When you stood still for 20 minutes, were you afraid?" "Terrified," Hana admitted. "Every second I wanted to run. My heart was pounding so hard I thought the mantis would hear it. But I knew running meant death, so I chose fear over panic. I let myself be afraid while still thinking clearly." "That's wisdom," Krell said. "Many species try to eliminate fear, but humans accept fear and work despite it. Another Deathworld lesson." Hana smiled. "Earth taught us that the universe is dangerous. Fear keeps you alert, but panic gets you killed. So we learned to be afraid and brave at the same time." As darkness fell completely, Hana stood up and stretched. Tomorrow would bring more students, more lessons, more opportunities to show the galaxy what humans could do. "Ready to head back?" she asked Krell. "In a moment. I'm enjoying this view. Your planet is beautiful, even if it is trying to kill us with its harsh gravity and dangerous weather." Hana laughed. "That's Earth for you, beautiful and deadly, just like humanity." She walked back to the training center, leaving Krell to enjoy the sunset. She had work to prepare for tomorrow's lessons. More importantly, she had a future to build, one where humans and aliens learned from each other, where Deathworld tactics were respected instead of mocked, where a girl who stood still for 20 minutes became the teacher of nations. The Deathworlder girl had proven herself. Now she would help prove that humanity belonged among the stars.